Today we're going to be talking about developing your ideas through an outline, or as I like to call it, the devil in the details. So in our last episode, we talked about coming up with an idea, and I hope you've taken that list that you wrote and have kind of come up with the general idea of what you want to use to write for the rest of the episodes. So one thing that my professors always told me in school, with both my undergrad and my master's degree, was you can't write a story, you can't start writing a story until you know where it's going, till you know where it's going to end. And that made a lot of sense to me. We had other people in the classroom that didn't. They're like, oh, well, I'm not going to write an outline, I'm just going to write what I want. And their stories always seemed chaotic and didn't go anywhere, and like it was missing something. And so I started taking it very serious about an outline. And an outline, please don't get me wrong, there are writers who don't use outlines. I greatly respect them, especially some of the bigger name people who write amazing books or write awesome movies and they don't use an outline. I can't stay focused that long to write and stay in one timeline. But I realized for myself, who I jump from project to project, and outlines help me so much to stay connected with my story. This is what's happening next. And don't take an outline as gospel. Like, oh, I wrote this earlier, I must follow it letter by letter. No, things are going to change. You're going to have more ideas come out. The other day I was writing my TV show called Sparks, and as I wrote the pilot, and then I started writing some short stories to kind of further develop my characters in my head as I was writing other TV show episodes. And I was like, you know what? This makes more sense if I do this. And so as I was writing those short stories, I'm changing the episodes for that TV show that's later on, and it helped make it better. Nothing in film, nothing in writing, nothing in your stories is ever going to stay the same. You are always going to be changing it, making it better as more ideas come to you. But an outline gives you kind of a general idea of this is where I'm starting, these are the different plot twists, this is what's going to happen with my character, this is where my character changes, this is when something bad happens, this is when something good happens, and you put all those together into an outline. Now, depending on the kind of story you have, my feature film outlines are usually anywhere from 5 to 12 pages long, depending on how detailed I am. Also, as I'm writing an outline, I sometimes get conversations between characters come to me, and I put that in the outline because I'm not going to remember it for later on, so it's right there in the outline. And then for my TV shows, I usually just do general ideas for each episode. So most Korean episodes are 16 episodes long, so I'll write down episode 1 through 16 on a Word document, and then I'll start putting the things that happen within each episode. And so my short scripts, or my short stories, I do an outline as well, depending on how short that story is going to be. If it's going to be a novella, my outline is usually anywhere from 2 to 4 pages. Same with if I'm not getting very detailed, my outline might be shorter. Again, this is to help you stay on track with the story that you're writing, so you kind of have to decide, do I want a lot of detail now, or do I just want to go with the basics? I like to go with as much detail as possible, so then later on, after I've moved to another story and I'm coming back, it helps me remember kind of where my thought process was, and it helps keep those creative juices flowing. Again, you're always going to be changing this outline as you're writing it, as other things happen, as you grow as a writer. You'll see stuff that, hey, this was great as a newbie, but you know what? I've learned that I don't like writing this in a process, or I don't like this kind of process, so you change it. You make it work for you. I currently have over 60 feature outlines that are done, and they're actually for sale on my website because I realized I can't write this many, and I found I love the process of creating an outline more than I do writing it. So a lot of my novel ideas, all of my script ideas, I turned into outlines, and I literally just threw them up on my website for other people to buy and create. I have met a great friend that way, and he wrote one of the stories and pitched it to Hallmark. Last I heard that it was optioned by somebody. But this outline process, whether it helps you or it helps another writer, it will help you kind of create your vision. So kind of let's jump into that. So most feature films, they follow the 3-act structure. I don't really follow that, I'll be honest. Beginning, middle, end. I have the same mindset that Tim Burton does, and you can mix and match as needed for your story to make your story work. I don't want someone to start at beginning of the timeline and go straight through. I do a lot of flashback scenes and a lot of my stuff. So the first thing about creating an outline, you have your idea, you have your general idea, so now you need to get more of the ideas that go along with that idea. So there's several ways to do this. I've read so many arguments online. I've dealt with arguments in class. In film school, they'll tell you grab a pack of 3x5 note cards, and then on each note card write a scene idea. So this kid decides to go to a bar underage and shows a fake ID. And then you grab another note card, and then you write a scene on there. And you're supposed to have, like, for a feature, like 50 to 60 scene ideas. I don't like that because I feel like that's a waste for paper. But I know that works for other people. If that works for you, do it. One of my friends hated the note cards idea. She thought the note cards were too big, so she wanted to do post-it notes. So she had post-its all over her wall. Again, if it works for you, it works for you. Personally, I write everything in a Word document, and I use bullet points. And then so with my TV shows, I'll write the episodes above, and then at the very bottom of my document, I'll write ideas, and then that is where I start putting all of my ideas. And I just brainstorm for the whole episodes. So whether you're doing a TV show or a book or a movie, most feature films have 50 or 60 scenes. TV shows vary depending on how long you want it, and some scenes are done very quickly, some take much more time. Same with short stories. Again, it depends on how long you want to make it. I always prefer to have more ideas than needed, so I start brainstorming the ideas. You want the plots, you want any kind of twist, you want to write down the misunderstandings, any kind of conflicts, you want to write those down. You want to write how you fix those conflicts, any kind of big events, so anniversaries that are missed, anniversaries, birthdays, weddings, engagements, all that kind of stuff. You'll want to put all that in the ideas list. In film school, they tell you the best way to create ideas for your scripts is what if. So this happens. So what if this happens? You can go this way or that way. Again, what if this happens? And then you have those what if questions, and you're starting to make the ideas for your outline. So once you have tons of those ideas, then you start putting them in order. This is why a lot of people like the postcards or note cards, because then they can like move them around easier. Honestly, I just use copy and paste, and then I don't kill trees, because my entire life is all digital. Books, movies, everything. I move frequently, and I got tired of having to have a U-Haul. So everything I do is digital. Everything I create, everything that I use, everything's digital. Everything's is easily accessible to me through my hard drives, Dropbox, box account, that kind of stuff. I hope that makes it easier for you guys. I don't use Google's online stuff, except for Google Slides is where I do a few of my things, but I'm very cautious about that because my friend used Google Docs and she had her ideas stolen. So I'm very cautious about that, and I keep everything on my laptop, and when I'm working on those documents, I don't even have the Wi-Fi on. So I don't want my stuff stolen. So with an outline, you create all those ideas and then you start putting it in order. And with that order is when you start creating your outline. So you'll start with, this is how I want to open it. This is kind of the journey that my characters are going to take. And then this is how I want it to end. And a lot of the times when I'm writing one of my outlines, I start with the ending. I want this to happen at the very end. I want this resolution to happen at the beginning. This is how the characters are going to meet. This is how they run into each other. And then I start filling in the middle, because I find that the most important is the beginning and the end. That's not saying that the middle is not important. It is very important. That is the journey that your characters are taking. But I feel like I need to know where they're starting and where they're ending, so I know how to take them on that journey and how to make them grow as they go through that journey. So with this outline, you'll take those ideas, you'll put them together, and at the end you should have a complete outline. You should be able to read from the very top all the way down to the bottom of your story and have a well-rounded story where you're going to see a beginning, a middle, and end, obviously, but you're going to have, those characters will have a resolution. So unless your story has an open ending, your story should have, this is where it ends, this is where they had their happily ever after, this is where they go their separate ways. Whatever you've decided for your story should be there. So I hope you take all your ideas, put them all together, and create this amazing outline, and I can't wait to see what you write.